Okay, good morning. My name's Russ Smith from Beechcraft Defense Company. I've been with Beechcraft Defense for 5 years. Before that, I worked for the U.S. Air Force for 26 years, last flying the A-10 Thunderbolt II, or more affectionately known as the Warthog. This aircraft is similar to the A-10 in the fact that it is built for supporting ground troops. It's built for combat search and rescue, for that forward air control mission, close air support, counterinsurgency, for all the missions that are relevant today and have been actually for the past 40 or 50 years and will continue to be in the future. The AT-6 from Beechcraft Defense is the latest variant of the T-6 family. We've produced over 900 aircraft and are internationally across the world. Every U.S. Air Force pilot, every U.S. Navy, Coast Guard, Marine Corps pilot flies in the T-6 aircraft, as well as countries like Canada, Israel, Iraq, Morocco, New Zealand, Mexican Air Force, Mexican Navy, and Greece as well. We have taken the T-6 and we've made some big improvements on it in this variant. So starting over here, I'll start with the motor. It's a 1600 shaft horsepower. It's a Pratt & Whitney PT6A-68 Delta. The prop blades are also different in the fact that they're wider. The top airspeed is the same as our other T-6 variants, which is 320 true or 0.67 Mach, but the prop size helps with heavy and hot loads with the AT-6. The AT-6 has a 10,000 pound max gross weight capacity now, which is a big jump. Also moving around the aircraft, you can see immediately underneath the cockpit is the MX-15. So the L3 Westcam MX-15 is our sensor pod of choice. It provides essentially 4 cameras. You have a color camera, which is electro-optical camera, very similar to a TV, and is color, as I mentioned, or EO narrow, and you can go EO narrow black-white or color as well. And then along with that, you have the infrared camera, which provides either a black hot or a white hot setting. There's a laser designator, illuminator, and rangefinder all included in the MX-15. The MX-15 is used on many other aircraft, including our King Air Special Missions aircraft across the way. The whole idea of this aircraft, the AT-6, was to take proven operational systems and combine them together, not to invent something new, but to combine already existing operational systems. So that's what we've done. We'll talk about the Lockheed Martin mission system on the other side. I'll show you the pylons here. So we have 3 pylons on each wing that we are able to carry stores, whether that's precision guided stores, GPS satellite bombs, or otherwise. So we can obviously use gun pods and unguided munitions, as well as we can guided munitions and practice bombs. The whole idea of having the efficient turboprop combined with these capabilities is that you get a great support to the ground troops, great persistence for the ground commander, but at a fraction of the cost of jet engines. So where this might be about $1,000 an hour to operate, you might pay in excess of $17,000 to $20,000 to operate a F-15E or an F-16 or something like that. You have a fuel tank on this side today, and then you have what we call Fury. Fury is a Textron systems weapon, and then there's a cooperative agreement with Thales as well here in France, but it can be a GPS or laser guided weapon, providing a penetration of armor up to 10 inches. The rest of the aircraft is very similar to our T-6 family. The stations have been modified and strengthened to carry up to at least 650 pounds. On the middle station, for instance, the max gross weight of munitions approximately 2,500 pounds total for the aircraft. You can also have 4 fuel tanks So this station as well as this inboard station are both wet. So with 4 tanks in an ISR configuration with the pod, you can have up to 8 hours endurance on the aircraft, which is a long time for the ground commander. It's a long time for the pilot and crew as well, I might mention. So I would prefer the 3 to 5 hour mission myself. We'll talk about the same ease of avionics as far as pulling out systems that goes with a T-6 and pushing them back in, not having to go underneath the aircraft, not having to pull something out to get to another component. That still philosophy and protocol still exists with the AT-6. So that's the good news for maintainers. I flew this aircraft all the way to the Middle East. I did demonstrations there. I flew up to Eastern Europe. I did demonstrations there. I flew to Paris. I used a total of 1 quart of oil, and that's the entire maintenance effort that went on this aircraft. So, and I've flown it to Australia as well, and I used the same. So it's an incredibly easy to maintain aircraft, incredibly reliable, very well thought out. And of course, it's a very forgiving aircraft. It's got the same trainer characteristics that 900 plus other aircraft share. There are a few extra antennas on this aircraft versus our T-6. We have a communication capability of 3 VHF and 2 UHF. 4 of those can be secure or frequency hopping depending on the State Department restrictions that are appropriate for the country getting the aircraft. In addition to that, we also have a SATCOM phone in the aircraft, so you have beyond line of sight capability wherever you are. So plenty of options to talk to the ground as well as the air. I like to say there's 3 things necessary for success in counterinsurgency. The first thing is you got to be able to talk to everybody. And that includes headquarters, the troops you're supporting, and your fellow fighters in the air. So we'll talk a little bit now about the Lockheed Martin mission system, which is the guts of this aircraft. It is a mission system that's used on the A-10 Warthog that I used to fly. It's the same mission system. The software interface, of course, is different to talk to our CMC Cockpit 4000 avionics, but it's the same interface. So the hundreds of millions of dollars of investment in that aircraft, our customers can take advantage of that. I had 2 A-10 pilots here at Le Bourget for the air show here come into the cockpit yesterday. The switchology is very similar. Of course, the mission system is the same. Within 5 minutes, they were moving buttons, and actually they liked our cockpit setup better than the A-10 currently. So that's a testament to how our engineers designed this cockpit. It's a testament to how easy it is for pilots to interface with the switchology, or what we call HOTAS, or hands-on throttle and stick. So this aircraft, unlike some of our competitors, which are tail draggers, for instance, has a dual capability of a trainer. You can see great visibility from the back seat there. It's very easy to land. The Eastern European country I flew in, the pilots all wanted to fly in the back seat. They all landed the aircraft the first time. They found it very easy to land. As an instructor pilot in the U.S. Air Force, I can tell you this is the easiest aircraft I've ever had to land from the back seat. Operationally, you can do anything from either cockpit, which is another big advantage, and it does separate us from our competition. So how a country uses that aircraft, whether that's in a pilot WISO configuration where you have a weapon system officer in the back or operator, or a CISO, a combat system officer, or perhaps a JTAC, a Joint Terminal Attack Controller, an Army Brigade Commander. You could have a battalion commander or a forward observer in the back seat, intel analyst, or 2 pilots. For the night missions, perhaps I would probably recommend 2 pilots. But we leave that up to the countries that want to buy this aircraft, how they want to employ that aircraft. It is completely NVIS compatible in the cockpit, which means I can put on NVGs and I'm not going to get any bright lights. As simply put, it's all engineered ready for the night. And unlike The way I used to do it in the A-10 with an illuminator in my hand, I had to be careful of the refraction off the canopy. I don't have to worry about that because I can use the MX-15 as my laser illuminator. And the trigger pull to do that is right here. The trigger pull to use all our moving map technology is right here. One of the things I demonstrate while I'm flying with customers is I will set or use our moving map, which has what we call DTED level 1, which is the highest grade precision on the map for GPS elevation. I can lay 3 points down. I can switch my targeting pod, slew my targeting pod within each of those 3 points within less than a second and a half. So you can sit off 15,000 feet, you can pull the throttle back, you're out of the threat range, you can wait, you're saving fuel, and while you're surveying 3 to 10 targets very easily. It's very easy to do. And if need be, this aircraft has the ability, because of the heads-up display and the CCIP, or our constantly computed impact point, I can roll in at any time and arm the weapons less than a second, and I can go engage a target, a fleeting moving target, which is what we find in counterinsurgency. These targets do not present themselves for a long time. They're not fixed static targets like in World War II. These are targets that are moving. They're mixing with civilian population. They are co-locating. They're very close to our friendly forces. So the fact is, you have a very limited time span to engage these targets. And the ability to throw your nose down and to do a diving delivery is very important, a diving and precise delivery. So the ability to roll in on a target quickly in a diving delivery, and then to be able to perform a missile defense or threat defense or jinking maneuver up to 6 Gs with this aircraft is critical for the security and safety of not only the pilot but the mission success. So this is a fully aerobatic aircraft. It's a forgiving aircraft, as I mentioned before. You can do defensive maneuvers up to 6 Gs. You can employ chaff and flare. We have the same countermeasure suite that is on the F-16, so the ALQ-213, the AAR-47, and the ALE-47, so provide missile and laser detection, as well as chaff and flare protection for the aircraft, as well as armor around the pilots, armor around the fuel tank, and armor around the engine. Because if you do have to engage and go down low, you're going to be in close proximity with that threat. Likewise, if the threat doesn't demand it, you can stay high. The aircraft can go up to 31,000 feet. We can avoid surface-to-air threats that are up to that height, obviously. And with our speed, 320 true, we can also range the battle space quite quickly. All right, so as I mentioned, I see 3 keys for success in counterinsurgency. The first one is the ability to be able to communicate with all the users in the battle space. We talked about how the AT-6 fulfills that role quite aptly. The second one is how to find the target. The MX-15, of course, is a great tool, but the fact that we also have a data link that we can stream full motion video down, the fact that we can take pictures inside our cockpit, and the fact that we can use our moving map technology with DTED-1, or what we call very, very precise GPS elevation. And that's all integrated in that Lockheed Martin and CMC suite between the heads-up display, the moving map, and the targeting pod. All that helps us find targets very quickly. There's no need for me, like I used to do in the A-10, to do an overhead mark by flying overhead the target. I can do that offset from the target at a safe distance. So I can lock the target up in my HUD. It automatically passes to the moving map and the targeting pod. I can do the same thing if I'm past coordinates in the cockpit on the map. Because my targeting pod knows where that is, I can slew it over there in less than a second, and I'll get that symbology in the heads-up display. Likewise, my targeting pod talks to the moving map and the HUD. So it's all integrated. Big difference between us and the competition. And lastly, you've got to be able to kill the target or neutralize the target, whatever your objective is. And the vast weapons array that we have of precision and as well as unguided munitions give us the capability to provide not only persistence for the commander on the ground, but also precise effects for low collateral damage. Because what we've learned in counterinsurgency is that what you don't hit is just as important as what you do hit. Lastly, our big advantage over the competition is that we double as a training platform. We take all the investment that the U.S. Air Force, U.S. Navy, Coast Guard, Marine Corps have put in this aircraft, and we let our customers be the beneficiaries of all that training.